Welcome to the Hall of Fame, brought to you by One Truck America. That's onetruck.us. Hey, we're starting to do something a little different. We noticed that our industry updates are our most watched and listened to podcasts. Very interesting. Good to know. This is the feedback we're looking for from 2024. So why not use it to improve our podcast in 2025? So before our podcast, we're going to give you a quick industry update before going into the podcast to make sure you're aware of what's happening in the industry. What do I see coming forward, and so forth. So let's start. We're coming off some bad years. 2023 was pretty bad. 2024 was pretty bad. I think the numbers now are over 100,000 trucking companies that went out of business in those 2 years, and now about 17,000 brokerages. That's directly stats pulling from the ATA. What to expect in 2025? We just start. So there are some positive notes out there. We've read a couple of reports I have that state that we're looking for about a 4% increase in rates and expect a stronger third and fourth quarter than obviously we had last year, and a stronger second quarter. The first quarter, we're not expecting anything to be really crazy, and expect 2026 to be a stronger overall. Now, what was surprising from this is Costco Shipping, well, it's Costco Shipping at OOCL, has just released an amazing pre-year-end report that shows them increasing their margins by like 94%. So I was a little shocked by that, and I think that's what we're going to see in a lot of the ocean liners. You're not seeing that for the large trucking companies, but I think as the amount of stuff we import, I think 2025 should be stronger than that. In 2024, I think we should stop the bleeding. I think you should start to see some recovery. I think 2026 is going to be strong. Now, the election is over, and I don't get into the politics of what side people vote on. I think it's everyone's right to go out and express your vote for who you want. But since the election has ended, we've had a bounce back in the market. And by the bounce back in the market, that means a little more money in people's hands, especially those who in stock. So maybe that will increase spending, increase the freight market itself. So I was sitting here today and said we expect a 4-5% increase in rate, especially in the end of the second, third, and fourth quarter. I expect a better surge than we saw in 2024, and I expect 2026 to be strong. And one thing to keep in mind is, as we talk to customers about bids, they would always say, "Oh, let's do a quarter rate." Talked to a couple of customers in January that wants to do a 1-year rate. Now, why would a customer want to do a 1-year rate? Because they believe rates are going up and they want to lock you into that rate for a year. So that is a good sign for the truckers out there. For the shippers, you obviously believe the rates are going to rise this year, so you're trying to lock people in for as long as possible. So keep that in mind. And now I'm going to go over and have a conversation with REMsafe Sleep. And I think that's going to be a great conversation. I'm looking forward to it. So let's move over to that conversation, and see you there. It's Ken Miller from the Hall of Fame. I'm here with REMsafe Sleep, and Brad's going to tell us a little bit about it, and we're going to have a conversation, and hopefully we'll get some education out to our driving forces. So, Brad, I'll give you some time. Why don't you just introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Brad Mader. I work for REMsafe Sleep. I've been in the industry, the respiratory industry, for 16 years, and prior to that, I was a driver for 16 years.
Oh, I love it. All right. You driving anywhere that I would know? And are you just bounced around?
No, I was all local, roll-off trailers, walking floors, tankers, local runs home every night. But I did that for, I say 16 years, was a Coke guy for 8 years of that, where I drove for Coca-Cola.
I love it. All right, great. Well, talk to a little bit about REMsafe Sleep. I mean, what do they do? What's different? Well, I worked for a corporation for 20 years, and we had different
sleep apnea machines that we would buy. We'd actually install them in the truck and things of that nature. So I want to know if the technology moved past that. How do you deal with that? So you go into a company. Walk me from there. You walk into. I have 100 drivers. I give you a call. I'm trying to improve this. What do I do?
Well, ultimately, what we would need is a copy of the long form that says that they need to sleep study because it is a prescription. Once we get the copy of that long form, we send out what's called the sleep image ring. We send it out overnight today. If we get the order today by 3 o'clock, it would go out tomorrow. They'd get it tomorrow. Once they get that test, they take that test overnight. It's just a ring that they wear on their finger. Next morning, the results get uploaded to the cloud, and within 2 days, we have sleep docs licensed in all 50 states that will read the results of that test. If the results of that test are a positive test or a negative test, they'll get a consult with the doctor, talk to them about sleep apnea and what it is and how it affects their body. The doctor will then send us the order for a CPAP. And then we'll overnight that CPAP to the driver wherever he is. We could, overnight it to a warehouse that he's going to next, a terminal somewhere, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then once he gets it, we'll set up a time with a respiratory therapist that will do a virtual setup with him. Once that setup is done, the big piece is the coaching piece of it. Because treating sleep apnea is not a drug. It's not a pill that you can go home and take and it takes the pain away. It takes time. It's like a new pair of glasses. If you get a new pair of glasses and you put them on that first week, you don't like them. You're tripping over your own feet going down the steps. It takes a while to get used to them. Yep. You buy a new pair of hunting boots. It takes time to break them in. And sleep apnea is no different. It takes coaching. It takes hand holding. It takes encouragement. It takes baby steps, and it can sometimes take some suck it up buttercup moments, or hey, quit being baby and get her done, So, and ultimately our testing to treatment we can do in 5 to 7 days. If the drivers answer their phone, if everything goes the way it should be, we can get them in 5 to 7 days to treatment. So
yeah, I saw the ring on your webpage. I took a look at it. It looks really good. Now, once they are, so the driver gets, I understand the long form, the doctor says he has sleep apnea, you do the ring, he gets a CPAP. Do you continue talking to that driver so that stays in your system? Okay.
Absolutely, yes, because we set them up in a supplies program as well, because supplies are very important. It's like a toothbrush. If it starts to wear out, it doesn't do the job anymore. Okay. Your masks are the same way. They're silicone masks. They're made to fit my face and your face, so they really adapt to your face. But once they start to break down, and a cushion is a month. It breaks down and it's lost all of its flexibility. So having the contact information with the supply replacement allows us to continue to be with that driver and monitor that driver. And then every day when our respiratory therapists start their day, they can look at a screen and they can see apneas. Maybe somebody's having some problems, some health problems, and they can see the graph of somebody's apneas that maybe went up. My boss was just looking at ours this week, and she's like, "Hey, I didn't use mine for a night, and we can see those things. And so when we see that, then we can upgrade that coaching. We can reach out to that driver and say, "Hey, what's going on?" And in some cases, it is what's going on. Meaning, let's get the pulmonologist involved. Let's take a look at this guy because something is happening, and we can see that on our data.
Okay, so if you can say that, how many drivers are you managing now? How many drivers are under your care?
Well, there's really thousands. If you look at my whole parent company, because the parent company that I came from, I treated drivers, NSP, Excel Energy. They all came to me. They all came to my store, and so literally thousands of drivers that we're treating throughout the different business models.
Okay, so I'm sure there are several. I can't remember who we used for sleep apnea, but they weren't as thorough as you just described. So what would be, if as the audience out there, so guys running their truck company, he may be getting the long form, giving it to some guy, the guy's mailing into sleep apnea. Why would he says, "Hey, let me call you"? What's the difference?
I think one is my parent company is respiratory. Lincare, that's all I've known is respiratory. And so we look at sleep a little bit deeper than somebody who's a sleep lab who started a sleep business. This is more about respiratory than it is as much about sleep. And so when you have years of experience, we're the number one employer of respiratory therapists in the country because we're that large, and that's all we focus on is respiratory. So I think when you look at that, when you're picking a company, you want somebody that has experience. And I think results, if you look at our results, Lincare as a whole, our results of treated and compliant patients is well above the rest. And it's because of the coaching piece of it.
Okay. What percentage of people work their way off the sleep apnea machine? So that's through physical training or whatever what does that percentage look like?
I don't know that exact percentage. I can say very few, but it does happen. I had a gentleman today showed me a picture, a vendor that we work with, showed me his picture. He lost several hundred pounds. And he doesn't have sleep apnea anymore. He said he had a 22.5-inch neck, and now he's got a 16-inch neck. So he doesn't have sleep apnea anymore. We had a driver back a few months ago that did the same thing, lost weight through exercise, but he didn't want to give up the CPAP because he likes the security blanket of it because he goes to sleep with it. He's done it so long.
Yep. That makes sense. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I think the problem we always had is we didn't have any drivers that worked their way off of it.
Yeah.
It just became part of what they do. And some of them would continue to gain weight to the pass where they couldn't pass a physical, which ends up being the biggest issue for drivers that are overweight, getting into their 50s, 60s. The average age of a truck driver now, the last I checked, was 49.
Yes.
And I remember when I first reported those stats, I spoke at a conference 8 years ago. It was probably 44, 45. So that number continues to move up. Do you see a specific age that people come sleep apnea, or is it just run rampant from 20 to 50?
You're right. I think you're looking at your 30s and 40s and above is where it starts to hit. Just this last Sunday, a neighbor came down. He said 30 years old, if that, tall, skinny, no neck, physician's assistant, PA. He came down to my house and said, hey, dude, I just got diagnosed with severe sleep apnea. And he doesn't fit the bill, and unfortunately, sleep apnea doesn't discriminate. I got the privilege of taking care of some of our military personnel over in Hawaii, out on the East Coast, for a few months during COVID, when we were short machines and we got machines, and so I got to go out there and taking care of the barracks.
You know where you went?
Oh, no, I was by the big hospital there. I don't remember what the name was. One of the famous hospitals in Washington there. I don't know what it is.
Oh, Bethesda.
Yes. Yep. I was right in that neck of the woods, and I took care of soldiers that were mean and lean.
No, they are. So I was in the military. I was in the Army, and thank you. They started to identify people in. I mean, the average person in the military is in their 20s, and they started to identify people. You have Bethesda. There's two big hospitals there, Bethesda and Walter Reeves.
Yes, Walter Reed was the other. Yep, Walter Reed was the other one. Yep. Yep. So that was my neck of the woods, and for about 2 months, I was running back and forth out there, and again, it did not discriminate. I had soldiers that literally said, I wanted what he had, because they were sleeping in the barracks. Yeah. And he's like, I want what that guy's got. And so they slept better and they felt better.
Well, good. Well, great. Thank you. We wanted to hear about this. I think it was important. I'm going to give you just some closing moments to talk a little bit about, you can talk directly to our folks out there about what else we should know about your company and how else you can help us.
Awesome. All right. Well, taking a look at sleep apnea, if you look at the DOT long form and you look at the check boxes, the majority of the check boxes, you're going to see the middle section is all going to be checked no, 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 no. Do you have any of these? Do you have any of that? And Virginia Tech did a study and found out that they did 20,000 drivers that they pulled the DOT exams from. And out of those 20,000, by looking at those drivers and talking to those drivers and do a simple 5 questions more about sleep apnea, they found 9,000 drivers that were possible for sleep apnea, that were at high risk for sleep apnea. And if you look at the long form itself, diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, cardiovascular, stroke, and those are all the things that our drivers have. These are all the diseases that our drivers have. And if you look at the comorbidities from untreated sleep apnea, it's a mirror. It's literally a mirrored image. And so when I look at taking care of our drivers, this is our nation's future. I think they're the most important people in the country as far as our economy. I think they're more important than our healthcare system, because if they don't do it, they don't get it. So
everything gets there in a truck, buddy.
Everybody uses a truck. And so I encourage people to take a look at sleep apnea as really as a health benefit, and really encouraging to look at it as for a health benefit that creates safe roads. So, and that's about it.
All right. Well, thank you, REMsafe Sleep. Brad, thank you for being with us, and you are on the Hall of Fame. Have a great day.
Hey, thank you so much.